Do it. Make your dreams come true. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just do it.
What's the next thing you did? Let's see. First, you hit the snooze. I know I didn't realize it were a big slip, but we're going to do this anyway. 73% of you sleep within reach of the phone. Or not 73, 83, okay? It's probably even higher at this stage. And if you think about it, if you're in bed and you got your phone over here and the alarm goes off and you're like grabbing for it and then you get it and then you do this. So here you are. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. You're not even freaking vertical, and you're already checking emails. And by the way, what is an email? Other people's shit. Email is the way that everybody assigns you stuff. It's other people's to-do lists. And so you're not even out of bed yet, and your brain is already processing everybody else's garbage. This is the worst way that you could start your day. And if there are those of you that wake up, and I know there are in this room, and you already feel overwhelmed, and you already have anxiety, and you already feel like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get everything done, you're right. Because everything that was on this phone, whether it's the sale at Zappos or the update from Team Street on Bleacher Report or something else, is already in your brain. It just went in queue ahead of what you were supposed to do. Remember those CEOs that I was telling you about and how they plan their morning? Their morning ritual does not start with this. Their morning ritual starts with figuring out what are my priorities for the day and taking 30 flipping minutes to use some higher processing to get it done. So what you should do is you should take that phone, and I'm going to use it as my alarm clock. No problem. Put it in the bathroom. That way when it goes off, you have to get up. And by the time you walk to the bathroom, you're up. And they've also done all this research, by the way, that as this thing is on at night, even if you've got it on vibrate, it's going to be interrupting your deep sleep. Even if you've got it on silent, the blue light that comes on has been proven to interfere with the neural pathways that you actually need to be relaxing. It stimulates them and has them go like, oh, okay, I got to be paying attention to something. And you should never let your kids do it. Here's another interesting little experiment that happened. It's really important. You know how we were talking about that we live in complex environments, and you in particular working in financial services live in very complex environments. And so one of the important things is yes, you got to know, what do I want? And what are the two things? Anyone remember? What do I stand for? What do I want? That was a test. The other thing is you can do certain things to control your environment, okay? To make it easier for you to be effective. They have proven that distractions that interrupt your flow at work make you stupid. There was a study that was done in Chicago, at the University of Chicago, where they took a look at these two classrooms, and they couldn't kind of figure out what was going on because it was two fourth-grade classrooms, and one of them was on the right side of the hall, the other was on the left side of the hall, and yet every single year, the classroom in the left side of the hall, an entire year behind. Why? They switched the teachers one year, they were looking at the same curriculum. Why? The reason why is there was a commuter rail right outside the window. They went by all day long, constantly distracting the kids. They moved the kids to an empty room across the hall, and within 2 months, they had caught up and were at the same grade level as the other fourth grade classroom. So when you've got your little alerts on, beep, boop, I know why you have it on, because it actually stimulates the same part of your brain that causes addiction. Every time this thing buzzes, you're like, oops, somebody needs me. Sale at Zappos, okay. And that's why you leave it on. You're afraid you're going to miss something. It's FOMO. You guys know that, right? Fear of missing out. You all have FOMO, and your phones keep it alive and well. The other thing that's interesting is make the stuff that you know is hard, or make the stuff that you know you shouldn't be doing hard. Make the stuff you should be doing easier. So there was this experiment that Google did. Google was looking at cutting some costs down in their New York offices, and they always had M&Ms out. And so they were toying with the idea of putting less M&Ms out, and what they did instead is they put a lid on the jar, making it harder for some. I mean, it's not that hard, but just that one thing of reaching in and putting a lid in to make somebody stop and think. 3 million less M&Ms consumed at Google in 1 year. There are things that are obvious to do, whether it's sleeping with your phone or having your phone on next to you, constantly alerting you, whatever it may be in the environment that you work in, that if you did small tweaks, you'd get a hell of a lot more done. So here's the problem, though. It's really not you. It's about how your brain works. So let's talk about that. Your brain only has 2 modes. That's it. It's a super sophisticated processing machine that can take a look at an expression of your teenager coming down in the morning and say, "Oop, not talking to you right now." But it only has 2 modes. The first mode, this is the mode your brain loves. It's autopilot. How many of you have ever driven to work and you get there and you're like, "Oh, who drove the car?" You did. That was your brain on autopilot. The thing about autopilot is your brain loves to repeat the same thought processes because it doesn't have to work very hard. It's why you drive to work the same exact way every single day. And even when Waze tells you to try a different thing, you're like, "Nope, I'm going this way." It's why you have your coffee the same way every single day. Your brain does not want to work very hard. In fact, your entire life can start to look like this. You wake up, you get up, you walk into the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you go into the kitchen, you see the same people that you saw last night, you have one of maybe 3 breakfasts, the Greek yogurt, the cereal, or perhaps an oatmeal if it's getting colder. You then get in the car, you drive to work, you stop at the same place for coffee every single day, you order it the same exact way, except for maybe right now when you might start going to the pumpkin lattes. Then you get to work, you check Team Stream on Bleacher Report, you take a look at Facebook, you log into your email, you look at emails, you pretend to care, you show up at a meeting, you pretend to care, you check back on Facebook, text your partner, you check in with the kids, you attend a few more meetings, you make some phone calls, you look busy, you drive back home, you see the same people that you saw in the morning, you talk about the same stuff, you have one of maybe 3 dinners, take out Chinese pizza, maybe you make a chicken dish, you then turn on the TV, it's the same type of entertainment because now you're mainlining everything on Netflix, you go to bed, you turn to the person next to you, and he or she says, "Not tonight, I'm too tired." Same thing every single night. And your brain likes that because it doesn't have to work very hard. Because the other mode that your brain works in is manual, and this is where you have to direct your thoughts. This is the moment when you want to get something done, when freaking Donald Sterling hits TMZ, and you've got to figure out how you're going to deal with this. When another player gets arrested, and you got to figure out how am I going to deal with this. When you look at your returns for the year or your production run for the day and you're like, "Oh my God," or the markets are in crisis, how am I going to deal with this? Well, you're going to figure out what you stand for and what you want the outcome to be. And then you're going to have to use this to direct your thoughts. Because if you don't start directing your thoughts and telling yourself what to do, autopilot will take over. Roger Goodell was on autopilot during that press conference. Because the truth is, I'll tell you what he wants. He doesn't want to have to deal with this. He doesn't want these to be an issue. He wants us to blow over. He made that very clear.